The Environment Agency has warned people to respect the severe weather conditions, which have already flooded more than 800 homes and killed 2 people this week. Hundreds of flood warnings and alerts are now in place across the country, with more rain expected this evening. Our reporter Jane Death is in Exeter.
Krish, a furious River Exe has burst its banks, and I have to say it wouldn't take much for it to breach the wall I'm standing on. This is the aftermath of a storm which claimed a woman's life last night and flooded hundreds of homes here in Devon. The government says in recent years it's built more flood defences and protected thousands more homes. But will those homes be safe and the defences strong enough with river levels this high, and now the storm seems to be back? The forecast said the southwest would get the worst of it, and it did. Up to 2 inches of rain fell last night. In Millbrook in Cornwall, the flood came with frightening speed. It left behind a slow cleaning up process.
Sandbags were out, we had sort of wooden plinths in the door, but eventually the water just came over the top into the pub, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. It was coming in both back doors, the front doors, and within probably an hour it was up to our knees.
Large expanses of the country are underwater, water with nowhere to go. The ground is soaked. Malmesbury in Wiltshire was submerged, leaving people needing rescue. It's not flooded like this for 70 years.
Within an hour and a half, it's 2 rooms, it's the top of my thigh, and the other room it's above my knees. It just came in so fast, and it came from 2 different directions. It's come up our garden and come over the road from the park. Nobody expected that.
In Kempsey in Worcestershire, the Environment Agency had primed their new £1 million pumps, but they petered out, offering people no protection. But it could have been worse, according to the Floods Minister.
We're looking at some of the worst floods for a great many years. But since 2007, little comfort to these people who've just been flooded, but since 2007 we are better prepared because we've taken forward all the recommendations of the inquiry that was done into those horrendous floods there.
From where we were today in Devon, it was easy to be sceptical about talk of improved defences. That's Stoke Cannon down there. It looked like an island. But going down for a closer look, we came across these £2 million flood banks. Not quite finished, but people here say they've been saved.
Oh, I think we would have had a tsunami. There was one 10 years ago, and it really did come sploshing in. So they were out there with their diggers well up to the top of the tracks, trying to stop it coming over.
The roads are underwater, but in the past the houses would have been too. Today they're dry.
It's doing a really good job. I think, it's very easy to complain about these things, but you've got to look at the positive side.
When the brook in Leslie Plains garden rose 5 foot last night, he saved his home with a pump, a bucket and a lot of bailing out.
Because it was dark, 11 o'clock at night, and not knowing, still heavy raining, and that's the problem, that you just have got nothing you can do.
At Cowley, the train line's now a river. The river is now a great lake. Well, this is what 3 days of downpours will do. Rivers turned into rapids. Look at the speed the water's going at. If it rains again today, this sea will only rise. In Exeter, a reminder some don't have homes to shelter in. A 21-year-old woman living in a tent died when this tree came down. The Met Office has issued another weather warning for the southwest tonight.
Well, let's take a look at the picture across the country. There are nearly 240 flood warnings in place across England and Wales, where immediate action should be taken to prepare for flooding. Plus 280 alerts, including 2 in Scotland, advising of possible flooding. There is still 1 severe flood warning in Cornwall, where lives may be at risk. Tonight, however, there is more rain to come. As you've just heard, the Met Office has issued a weather warning in parts of the southwest and Wales. Tomorrow, the seemingly relentless rain will again hit the southwest, but a heavy band will move to the north of the country, where there may well be 50 to 70 millimetres of rain. That's over 2 inches, with more expected on higher ground. A little earlier today, I spoke to Martin Weller, Devon and Cornwall Area Manager at the Environment Agency, and I asked how things had gone so far from his point of view.
Given the scale of the event, the horrendous weather we've had, and had for so many days on a row, I think remarkably well. That's no consolation for the people who've actually been flooded, who've had their journeys disrupted. But I think in terms of the big picture, if you like, then thousands and thousands of people have been defended by our flood defence schemes, and we continue to plan well for what the weather's throwing at us now and in the hours and days to come.
Why have flood defences worked and why have they failed where they failed?
Well, I think on the whole, the big flood defences that protect our major communities have worked very well. Often what we've had where we've had flooding is isolated properties or small communities where tiny little streams have just exploded under the very heavy rainfall that we've had. And so we've seen some vulnerable places affected by very exceptional weather. But the big places like here in Exeter, the schemes worked really well, and hundreds and thousands of people and businesses have been protected.
There's also been at least one place where pumps couldn't get turned on in time. I mean, are there any lessons there?
Given the scale of the event we've had, there's bound to be lessons, and we'll be looking at all the particular incidents that have happened, reviewing from them and learning from them. And we'll be doing that with our partners, the local authorities, the emergency services, and the local communities that we've been working with through these events.
And how do you think things are looking over the next 48 hours?
Well, we've got a rainfall event going through at the moment. We're watching that very closely. It's likely to affect the southwest through until tomorrow morning. It'll also affect the Midlands, but we're also getting increasing concern about the northeast, places like Middlesbrough and Hartlepool.
Some of the people who've been telling their stories over the last day have described how quickly their homes have been inundated. What's your advice to people if they get a knock on the door?
Well, I think many people are in what we call rapid response catchments. That's in river valleys where the water very quickly rises in the response to heavy rain. And we're working with communities that are so affected to have community flood plans so that they're ready to move quickly in incidents like that. We've seen some of that action already in the southwest over the last few days. If communities haven't already got a flood plan, we'd like to work with them to develop one, because people need to be ready to go when they do get that knock on the door or that call or the social media or any kind of alert that we can give.
How has your ability to get the message out changed?
It's changed so much. I mean, I can remember earlier in my career where the way of warning people was that the local Bobby on the beat literally went round and knocked on doors. We're moving now through giving people telephone warnings to warnings on their mobile phones. We've got the internet, we've got social media. Things are changing fast. We can warn quickly, and we need to because the weather changes very quickly.
And we'll have a fuller weather forecast immediately after the news.